Okay, we've got the moon in, I'm going to change this filter because it's driving me nuts. But we've got the full moon in Virgo coming up on the 18th, and it's a bumpy ride getting there, folks, because around midnight tonight Pacific, the moon ingresses into Virgo, where it starts to make an applying opposition to Mercury. And that is going to make tomorrow a very interesting day. There's going to be some real bombshell headlines. Basically, there's going to be information leaked. We're going to see secrets come out. I already did a video about this where I kind of gave an overview of the 16th to the 18th. And again, we've got that big full moon coming up, but it's at the end of the moon in Virgo transit. So it's at around 28 degrees of Virgo. So we have 2 days to get ready for it, and it's just super bumpy. Hey Moon, Jen, how you doing? So yeah, it is early, but I've really worked my schedule around so I have a little more free time so I can get online on lives earlier. I have a lot of writing to do. We're getting the mystery school ready. I have other projects I'm working on. So there's just a lot going on right now. So I'm trying to get ready for that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in April because it's smack dab on my North Node. So I'm trying to maximize that energy because I'm being kind of propelled into my life purpose in a different way. And, which is in part the mystery school, so that I'm very excited about. So working on that, but I wanted to pop on live just to talk about kind of what's coming up over the next couple of days. And yes, we will hear more news about COVID. It's already starting to come out. There's more coming. I don't think we ever should have stopped wearing masks. Is it the end all be all? No, it's not going to prevent everything. People who are resistant to mask wearing, first of all, are freaking babies. Second of all, just like I explained to somebody in my comments on the last video I did, nails and glass will poke through our shoes, but it's better than going barefoot. Okay. It is a mitigation. It is not the final solution. It's pretty simple. Okay. I've been fairly reasonable over the last several years and how I've discussed this, but like everybody else, I'm really kind of sick of it, but it isn't going away because we're sick of it. We need to be diligent. That doesn't mean you have to stop your life. That just means you need to be aware and be conscious. And I think we also need to be a little more collectively minded, especially with Saturn in Aquarius. The time for rugged individualism is really at an end. And as we move towards the Pluto in Aquarius era, we'll see a sneak peek of it next year. That need to have a broader outlook is really, really important. And so if people are going to be doggedly selfish and self-interested, there's going to be some pretty swift kicks in the behind. So it's really, really important to, it's like, think globally, act locally. Well, it's kind of like that. You want to nurture yourself, but also think collectively. So guarding your own health means you're also guarding others. I'm going to do what I want. If I want to die, great. Well, no, great. But just don't drive the wrong way in traffic. That type of logic is inanely stupid. And so, having a bunch of freedom also comes with a lot of responsibility, and we need to look at our responsibilities collectively. We have Saturn in Aquarius. The consequences of not meeting those responsibilities are pretty severe. So it's important that we think a little bit more collectively. It does not take away from your rights to think more collectively, to think hey, what does this do for my community? What does this do for people around me? It makes you actually a thinking human being, God forbid. And I am going to be a little more outspoken on these things because I think being reasonable, hasn't done very well. So people can not like it and they can unfollow me and I'm okay with that. I'm just fine with that. I would rather be vocally outspoken against ignorance as much as possible. I think we have brains and we need to use them, so there we go. That's where I stand on it. All you have to do is follow the science. I think we've had horrid and horrendous public policy when it comes to COVID. And I think it's had a lot of corporate and political interests and not necessarily public welfare in mind. And so, we really do need to kind of watch what's going on and mitigate, and again, washing your hands. It was kind of a cool thing before COVID. So just saying. Hello. So tomorrow we wake up to a moon in Virgo. It will be in an applying opposition to Mercury. We're going to have a lot of bombshell headlines. There's going to be a lot of information leaked. We'll find out some secrets being exposed. We're probably going to start hearing more and more about COVID over the next several days as the moon is opposing the planets in Pisces. It's going to be a real roller coaster. We're going to see some very interesting weather. We're going to see the effects of interesting weather. So yeah. Do I believe Zelensky will survive? Absolutely, actually, at this point. He's made it through. We all die someday, right? But he's made it through the roughest bit. He's had his Venus return. And if you go, I pinned the post of my transit reading of Zelensky's chart. So if you go to my pinned post, you'll see that there. And I said if he made it through this certain point in time, his transits were excellent. So yeah, Zelensky actually comes out on top. And regardless of what happens. So yeah. Any advice for someone working with the public this week? Oh, deep breaths, honey poo. Just understand that people are often irrational. We're heading into a full moon. It doesn't matter what sign we're moving into. It's usually the days before the full moon that get crunchy. The full moon is the actual release. And that day, if you're in EMS, you know what happens on that day. That does wild child stuff. But, and we'll probably see some really strange health concerns when it comes to that full moon. When we're looking at the days leading up to it, it's going to be a crunchy, So not necessarily on an individual level, by the way. Those oppositions can be absolutely freaking magic in your personal life. So remember, those can be power-ups. That can be just the right level of frustration to push you forward. On a personal level, these things can be great. That's why I write the horoscopes, and they're up on Patreon. So if you head to the link in my bio, you'll see all kinds of resources. You can listen to my podcast. I already did the full moon episode. That's up and live and ready to go with better audio quality because I got my recording studio figured out. And it sounds really fancy to say I got my recording studio figured out, but really it's my really good mic is now surrounded by a little foam container for like a mini podcasting studio with a little blankie over the top. That's what got the sound quality good. I could record in my closet, but really I don't want to carry my laptop all the way back into my bedroom and all that. I just want to sit on my couch and record a freaking podcast. So the quality is better. So I think you'll enjoy this episode. What are my thoughts on daylight savings time when it comes to astrology? Why? I don't understand the question. We factor that in. We factor time changes in. Just like we factor calendar dates in. The Gregorian calendar is artificial. Just like the Julian calendar was artificial. Yeah, we just calculate that. All that's calculable. Yeah. Oh my God, me too. I hope daylight savings time stays. So somebody who is sight impaired and cannot drive at night, that's nice because you have no idea what it's like to try to shoot home to get there before sunset. So I've been wanting daylight savings time to be established for a long time. Time is arbitrary. Dates are arbitrary. The positions of the stars are constant, but what we call things as far as, it's 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, or it's January or February, March, 11, 12, all those things, those are arbitrary, so we just change our calculations to meet that. So, but yeah. Can I explain progress charts? Well, it depends. If you don't understand how to read your natal chart, there's no point in understanding a progressed chart. Point blank. That's intermediate. It's at advanced intermediate astrology. Am I gatekeeping? Yep. I am trained old school. I've put the time in. I've spent 3 decades at this. I teach my students this, but a progressed chart shows the maturity. And until you're really past your Uranus opposition, the progressed chart it's nice to peek at, but it doesn't have a whole lot of relevance. After your Uranus opposition at around 42-ish, okay, it's around 42. Thank you. I appreciate that, especially after I said I'm gatekeeping. I know a lot of people don't like that, but astrology is actually a field of study that requires a lot of time and experience. And it isn't something you just read a book about and then you're an expert. It takes, not only do you have the study, then you have the practice. And so that's what makes you good. Okay, that is the only thing that makes you good. And the more time, more charts, more people you work with, the more ways you see things expressed, the better and better you get. You never stop your practice, right? You're always expanding, you're always growing, you're always learning. But there's no point in learning about something if you don't understand the natal chart itself. So that's what it is. You love when I gatekeep. That's funny. I have no patience for Lilith placements. I have none. I don't use it. I think it's a ridiculous thing. I think it is something, it even came up when I was a young astrologer. People get involved in these little minor things that have really no actual big relevance in your life. Again, if you don't learn about your personal planets in depth and their positions in your chart, and then the tertiary, which is Jupiter and Saturn, and I would add maybe Chiron to that, but even Chiron is not a personal placement. It's not a huge influence in the chart. It gets a lot of emphasis because people think it's really, something what they want to identify with, but it's not as big a deal as people think. I honestly don't like origin stories from a lot of the religions that place women as something destructive and seductive and vile and bitter and all those stories. I think they've caused a lot of social and cultural harm. And so I don't like even using those. So I think, we're in Pluto and Capricorn era. Patriarchy doesn't undo itself, guys. We have to undo it within ourselves. So buying into anything that makes women the villain of the story in any way, shape, or form, being jealous or, betrayed, or all those stupid social normative bullshit stories, we've got to end with those. Okay. We have to end them in ourselves and then end how we tell them. So no, I don't even deal with that placement. I don't. It's minor at best. So yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Yeah. Manifest healing? Absolutely. When the moon is in Virgo, it's a release of the things. The full moon in Virgo is a release of the things. So you're not manifesting healing, you're releasing the resistance to healing. Okay. So you're releasing any beliefs, any inhibitions, any habits, any obsession with the condition, and then, open to receiving the right guidance, the right medical practitioners, finding the right people to work with. Yeah, absolutely. Sure it is, so that it's a good time to bring that in. Remember, manifest means to shape with your hands. We don't manifest just by thinking about things. We don't manifest just by writing things down. We get very clear and then we ask for the aligned action. I'll be teaching more about this in the mystery school. I actually have curriculum all around that because most people misunderstand what manifestation is. They think they do a little ritual on a new or full moon and Bob's your uncle, here it comes. That's not how it works. That's not how the universe works. You get aligned and then you move into the right action. Okay. That's what manifestation is. Nobody gets anything sitting on their ass. Nobody. It doesn't work. If you want to eat, you have to go find food some way, somehow. Even at our most natural selves, like pre-industrial, even pre-agrarian, you had to go hunt and gather to find food. So now those who were more in tune would look for the signs, would feel into it, would have a gut instinct. You pay attention to the seasons, what's, in season at this time. Maybe this plant's blooming or fruiting, or the animals tend to migrate at this time. It's one of the reasons why humans migrated. We were probably following our food. The same goes now. We want to tune into good timing and then align our actions into it. And everybody's chart has a little different rhythm for that. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. Yeah. Action is absolutely involved. You know, that whole please, please, please. And that really comes from the please, 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 give me to me, give me to me. Instead of going, okay, I'm clear about what I want. And manifestation involves, you know, listening for the answers, not just closing your eyes and asking for something. You want to align in. And sometimes that is deciding, you know, you get a prompt to go to the grocery store and maybe you run into somebody you know and they tell you something you need to hear. You know, I mean, who knows how it shows up? It can show up in many, many ways. But yeah, so this is going to be a very interesting full moon, but it's the getting to there that's more interesting. And like I said, I talked about that on my podcast. You can check that out through the link in my bio. I can't really give anybody any career or any other kind of advice, just like, oh, here's the moon. You know, you have to look at that within your own chart. And that's something I do in Patreon in the rising sign horoscope. So depending on your rising sign, there will be certain activities. So if it's a 6th house or a 10th house transit, and that's how I write the rising sign horoscopes. I deal with the houses. And so those instructions for reading the horoscopes are always in the Patreon horoscopes. And those are, again, that's from the $11 and up. So yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the podcast. I appreciate the feedback. Hang on. What is most important to focus on this equinox with the planetary alignments? Good question. It's going to be very interesting because we have, and I need to draw up an equinox chart and I'll do some videos about that. But the equinox is always a very, both the vernal and the autumnal equinoxes are very turbulent times, especially weather-wise. In fact, even before I was ever astrologer, like when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, my grandfather was a commercial fisherman, and that was in his retirement. He actually had a pilot's license for the Columbia Bar, which is the Columbia River. It has the mouth of the Columbia. He could actually pilot big ships into that. It's a very dangerous thing to do. Even now, it's hard to get a pilot's license for it. And in the 30s, he ran a little rum. But he would always say, never take your boat out during the equinox. Beware the equinox, because you never know how that tide will turn. And I think our equinox is going to be pretty turbulent weather-wise. So you want to keep your eye out for that. And again, our equinox is on the 20th this year. And so, yes, the sun will be ingressing into Aries and the new astrological year begins. But we have a shitload of Pisces planets. So we will still have Mercury, Jupiter, and Neptune in Pisces. That's a lot of Pisces. And then Venus will catch up and move into Pisces right after, or very shortly, very shortly as we move towards the end of the month. So the first half, of that Aries movement is going to have a lot of Piscean feel to it. So it's going to be fascinating. It's just going to be fascinating. We may feel ourselves like on one hand we'll be a little bit dreamy, but we might be a little steamy. So, yeah. Oh, shit. Oh, my God, Yvonne, you've got to fill us in on the dirt. So that whole CEO, it sounds like you have really shitty leadership. Maybe they're going to go. My life sounds fascinating. I have Venus in the 8th house and it's in Gemini. And one of the things I inherited from my family was the ability to spin a good story. Your lives are exciting and interesting too. It's all in the perspective and how the story is told. I used to do that as a young person. People are like, oh my gosh, your life sounds so exciting. I'm like, well, tell me about you. And then I'd tell their story back to them. And that's what I love about doing in astrology charts. I help you see how exciting your life is. You have a remarkable story. That's why I love meeting people, because you're fascinating to me. So yeah. You took the rest of the week off to regroup. Good for you. Good for you. You're welcome. We keep on thinking more wrong because we canceled a trip. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for enjoying what I do. I'm not really sure. You're wondering if you should have canceled a trip to Florida and New Orleans. You know, honestly, you can pay me to travel to either one of those spaces, but that's okay. They both still have very high rates of COVID. I don't want to get it. Somebody asked me in the comments of the last video I did, you know, what am I at high risk? Is that why? I'm like, no, actually I'm not. I'm in a risk group because I'm over 50. But at the same time, no, I'm not high risk. But I use my brain for my job. I don't want to catch something that could cause me neurological damage. I have cultivated my brain my whole life because that's my biggest asset. My brain is worth more than money. It's worth more than anything else. It's worth more than any relationship. This noggin is what I've got. So am I going to risk that? Oh, hell no, not needlessly. That would be ridiculous. So yeah, am I taking care of myself? You damn well bet I am. You know, and I'm guarding the people I love too. There are people in my lives who are high risk. Why would I risk the people I love just because I was a selfish twat? So, you know, not going to do it. Not going to do it. I don't want to risk your people either. I don't want to risk the babies. I don't want to risk the toddlers. I think we have been inordinately selfish as a society. So, yeah. Yeah, it's not over. It hasn't been over for a long time. So, you know, we're not over for quite a while. And I think we're seeing a lot of short-term thinkers in our policy makers, and it's unfortunate. Hi there, how are you? Welcome. So we're moving into that full moon. Just expect a lot of weird stuff kind of to come up over the next couple of days. You don't feel the full moon until the moon is exactly full. That won't happen until the moon is exactly opposite the sun. That's the same drill every single month. What you're feeling the weirdness as you lead up to the full moon is the waxing gibbous phase. And that can be a pretty crunchy phase because everything's kind of being brought up to the surface for the release on the full moon. And so this is also a fulfillment of the new moon in Virgo that happened in the fall of 2021. So if you've been journaling, if you wrote down any intentions, you might want to go back and revisit those journals and see what you were up to. Or go back and look at your social media posts and see where your focus was. And then you might see some fruition of that coming in this full moon. So yeah. You're a COVID ICU nurse. You have many horror stories. Oh, I'm so sorry. God bless you for what you do. Like, seriously, I'm so sorry. You know, one of the reasons I did go public in 2020 is I was really annoyed with the QAnon BS. It's a bastardization of metaphysics. I've been a metaphysician my entire life. I've been an astrologer since I was 25. And it was just kind of the Nazi playbook all over again, you know? And I couldn't let that stand. I'm actually trained in the metaphysics that countered those metaphysics. And the one thing we need to do is support science. You can be a metaphysical person and understand that science exists. I do not believe a spiritual life is separate from the physical life, and we have physical laws. Okay, there's science. And as an astrologer, you should really be into science because astrology is actually kind of the mother and father of science because people began their observation and correlation process thousands and thousands of years ago. And that the many offspring of that became science. And so is astrology a science? No, it is not. And it always kind of annoys me when people try to legitimize us as a science. We're not, but we are a field of study. And so we are a very wide field of study, but we are not a science. But scientific method and process was kind of birthed out of the type of process astrologers do, especially researching observational applied astrologers like myself. Not every astrologer is a researching observational applied astrologer, meaning I've done my own deep dives in observational applied astrology, making astrology applicable to daily life, not just a personality index. So those are important things. Right. Yeah. Oh, big hugs. I'm sorry you're feeling ish. Yeah. Yeah. Do I have to have written things down on paper? No. You can write them down on an iPad. You don't have to write anything on paper if you don't want to. It's just the fact that you focused your intentions. You don't have to have physically written anything. That was a good question, though. Which new moon culmination is this full moon? It would be, well, we have the full moon in Virgo, so it would have been the new moon in Virgo in the fall. So the new moon culminates 6 months later in a full moon. It's not just with eclipses. Okay. There's a lot of people who profess to be astrologers who don't have a lot of information. And I've been kind of nice about it over the last couple of years, but I'm going to stop being nice about it because I'm really tired of the bad astrology, not just on TikTok, but on YouTube and on the internet in general. I call it Tumblr metaphysics, and it's basically bullshit. So, you know what? And the thing is a lot of us who are actual metaphysicians, many don't like people or aren't fond of them, or they don't have the skills to come out onto social media and actually explain things. So they're maybe not good on camera, or they're shy, or they're recluses. So I've just decided to come out front and just give you the real deal. So yeah, looking back at your fall new moon intentions journaling now, I love it. Way to go. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Rita. Yeah, we just finished up our How to Read Your Birth Chart class. We had a wonderful 10-week chat class. It was a beautiful final lesson today where everybody got to kind of go over what they learned and share their understandings and find out they learned a whole lot more than they thought they knew. They've come to new understandings. It was a wonderful class. It was a great 10 weeks. And in April, we start astrological transits for beginners. And so that is super exciting. So where do you find my courses? You can find them in the link in my bio. Everything's up on my link in my bio. So yeah. And patrons get a very special scholarship for the 10-week class. They get a $300 scholarship so that the class is way more affordable. I always try to love on my patrons a whole lot because without them, I ain't here. So yeah. I love it. Thank you. Thanks, Dwabbit. Thanks, Casey. Thanks, guys. You have a question? If you haven't taken that class yet, can you take the transit class? Yes, you can. Absolutely. You do have to understand how to find things in your birth chart. You know, if you look at your chart, you need to be able to identify the houses, you know, and you need to be able to know like what the planets are. You know, find the signs. You don't really need to know how to read aspects yet because I'm not going to cover aspects. We're going to understand what transits are in those 10 weeks. So we're going to understand the difference between a natal chart and transits. And then you're going to learn about the planetary motions, okay, how fast the orbits are. So you understand the speed of the planets and what those planets mean in transit, okay? But not necessarily the aspects. We'll cover that a little bit. But we're going to explain aspects themselves, you know, or not aspects, transits themselves. Because I think there's a lot of confusion out there. People don't understand the difference between their natal chart and their transit chart, or the transits to that natal chart, rather. And so, yeah. And this will help. This will help you. From there, you'll be more ready to study other things. So I always prepare you to learn the next thing. And then it'll also make sense if you go to an astrologer, not just me, but any astrologer, and you'll be able to tell a little bit more about what they're talking about. It'll make a lot more sense. It won't just be like blah, 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 planet, blah, 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 good luck, bad luck, you know? So, yeah. Aw, you guys are awesome. Once you graduate nursing school in May. Oh, I love it. I look forward to that. Will I have an aspect? I will eventually, yeah. I will be teaching aspects. I don't know when I'm planning the next class for. I'll know that more after I get the mystery school up. The mystery school is next. So I want the mystery school open in April. So we're pushing to get that done. And that'll be open to patrons, and there'll actually be a special patron tier that involves, and what it'll do is it'll be $22 a month. I haven't set it up yet, but because I don't have the mystery school open yet, but as soon as I have the mystery school set up, then it'll be $22 a month. And it'll come with the horoscopes and Patreon and access to the general curriculum, not the extra classes, just the general curriculum, which packs a punch and is worth way more money. You know, that's what I can get my doctorate in. But I want to make sure that everybody can access it with ease. And it is literally life-changing because it helps you really align into your authentic self without dogma. Like, I'm not telling you how you have to be or what you believe, but there is a process for self-discovery, and it really works. And it works regardless of culture, socioeconomic status, background, even whether you're on the spectrum or not. It's a reiterative process that just continues. And you grow from there. And I have a lot of great case studies. Like I said, I can get my doctorate in it, but I'm excited to be able to put the metaphysics in up front. I've always had to kind of hide them to make this appropriate in more of an educational setting. And so as far as like institutional education versus having this just be in the mystery school and being able to show the metaphysics up front is pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it. So, because to me, it's about blending both the seen and unseen, the unseen and the seen, the physical and the spiritual in a one life, and the dogma on how that's expressed is a totally different story. You get to decide your own dogma. I'm not there to tell you how to live, but just to bring all of you together into one beautiful package. And it takes time and practice, and it's reiterative. But if you guys have worked with me at all, you know that kind of thing, that kind of effort pays off and pays real dividends in your life. So I'm very excited to be able to do this. It is my calling. So this is my life's work, and it's really exciting to bring it to you. I'm excited. You can tell. I'm just like, I feel like a hypo about it. I'm very excited because Rita's doing the graphics. We have some wonderful teachers coming in as well, and you'll be able to access classes separately. Like Dwabit, I need to get a hold of everybody. We'll have a meeting eventually, but Dwabit is up for tarot. I need to talk to medium Carrie Wilson because I'm going to have her she'll be teaching mediumship. I've got my best friend in the whole world, Kirsten. She's also known as Kirsten Joyful Life. She is an amazing metaphysician, and she'll be teaching things like muscle testing that helps you really know your yeses and nos and helps you have your inner understanding set, and learn to trust yourself more. I'll, of course, be teaching astrology, but I'm also going to be teaching things like understanding how to widen your channels and work with the energy, how to deal with resistance patterns so that you can kind of deal with the crunchy times a little bit more. Some of that comes through Living by Luna. It will have its own classroom space, and if you're a Living by Luna patron, then you'll have access to that. That's one of the things I'm working on finishing right now. What else do we have going on there? I know I'm forgetting people. I'm going to have Rita do a little introduction to human design. I'm going to have, because I want people to at least have good information about various modalities, right? Whether I like them, don't like them is kind of besides the point. I want good instructors offering information on them. My good friend, Nicole Cormier, who is one of the best numerologers I have ever known, she's going to be teaching a class on numerology. And so we'll have some little introductory classes that let you know what's happening, and then you can choose to take those classes separately. So that's what's there. I'm super excited to be able to have people. Yeah, Nicole is amazing. Nicole and I have been friends since 2007, and she's who I go to for numerology. She's a kick-ass bitch. I love her. One of her names on social media used to be Glitter Bitch, and I love that. She's amazing. She is a very cool human being. So she rocks hard. Very, very good. I'm trying to remember everybody. If I've forgotten somebody, it's just because I don't have the list in front of me. And, I ad-lib anything. It's never intentional. I'm trying to think. I think I got just about everybody. So it's super cool. Is there a full-time or multi-class program? I'm trying to decide on that right now. I'm trying to decide on that right now. Right now I have the a la carte figured out. I am going to have a yearly subscription option. And just a heads up, I'm going to do from the equinox through probably the solstice. I think I'm just going to do it for a couple months. I'm going to have yearly subscriptions open on Patreon and see how that goes for any of the tiers. But I'm not sure about cosmic servers. I have to look at where we're pricing things for a multi-subscription and what that'll look like. So that's why I'm mostly looking at, we'll have the base and then the Living by Luna tier in the Patreon will cover the Living by Luna classroom and the basic curriculum. So for right now, I'm still looking. Like, I'm still trying to decide the logistics of this because it involves multiple people. So I'm still working out the details administratively on that. So, oh, I have the best planetary mom energy. Oh, thank you. I take that as a big compliment. Being a mom was really, really important to me. Like, I knew when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a mom. You know, I really did. I didn't necessarily want to be married, and I was so right about that. But being a mom was always, you know, it's still something I'm very proud of. And I always feel that society is very welcome for the shepherding of two very conscious, contributing members of society. So, just saying. And the rocks, the cradle rules the world. And I think we should give, you know, it doesn't complete a woman to be a mother. Not every woman needs to be a mother. We're not brood mares, you know. But to me, just the idea of helping a human being grow into their highest potential, that was just, I couldn't think of anything I'd rather do. And that's exactly what I do with my clients too. It's like, to me, that's motherhood. It isn't self-sacrificing. It isn't giving up everything for the kid. I think that's the wrong message. But I think shepherding people to their best selves and kind of highlighting the best of who they are and helping them attain their goals. I can't think of anything more worthy. Duh, I'm a Cancerian. So, yeah. So, oh, you were hoping to catch it live. Yeah, that was today. Yeah. The recordings are in the Discord. The recordings are in the Discord, and people are encouraged, if you miss the class, go listen to the recording and, you know, get into the Discord and study with everybody. That Discord is going to stay open until I teach the class again, and it probably will not be this year. So it probably just will not be this year. So, yeah. Yeah. You love being a mom? Yeah. It can be awesome. And it's okay if people don't like being moms, you know, like, or if they never want to be a mom, that's okay too. I always told my kids, if you don't want kids, don't have them. Kids deserve parents who want them, not just have to. That's one of the reasons I'm really annoyed with the laws being made in various states, reducing a woman's right to choose, because frankly, not every woman should be a mother. Not every woman's going to be a good mother. Not everyone's capable or wants to. And it should be a choice. And I literally chose to be a mother. Now that choice wasn't always very well respected, you know, and I think that's important too for the people who do enjoy doing it. It is an occupation. It's a full-time job. And so, you know, that needs to be respected too. You shouldn't be diminished because you choose something like that. You know, so yeah. Right. Well, join us. You know, nobody's gonna bite. I promise. Join in. Yeah. Aw, Yvonne, big hugs. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of bad thoughts about those people. And, you know, I've been looking up various politicians' charts to roast, and almost invariably they don't have birth times. And it's funny because in some states they didn't put birth times on birth certificates to prevent astrological charts being drawn. Like, true story. Yeah. To take part of the transit class, what you need to be able to do is look at your natal chart, be able to identify the house, identify the planets in the houses, understand the signs, know where they're at, and have a basic understanding of what the planet signs and houses mean. Okay. Just a basic understanding. You don't have to, be completely fluent. You just need to be able to know how to find them and how to look stuff up. Because I'm not really teaching this. I'm not teaching a mundane astrology. I'm not going into depth. This is, easy peasy. I am teaching the difference between a natal chart and the transits and what that means and the vernacular to use. And we're talking about the speed of the planets and what those planetary movements mean, what it means when it starts, when it ingresses from one sign to another, what and how that energy might express depending on the planet. We're going to talk about what happens when things go retrograde, etc. But we're not going to talk about natal retrogrades, okay? We're talking about transits, okay? So I usually spell things out pretty clear in the class about what we're going to cover and what we're not going to cover. And then I remind you throughout the class, because there's a set curriculum for a reason. And it's to give you a strong foundation so you can move forward and study more given the subject. So, honey, Brenda, I am so sorry that your daughter's sick, but I can't give you an answer to that. I wish I could. But first of all, I'm an astrologer and we look at charts. And second of all, it would be unethical of me to claim I could tell you that in a chart. I can look at potentials, but I can't give you definitive answers. And I'm so sorry you guys are going through that. I do send you my deepest love, and I can't imagine what you're going through. And I know you're probably searching for answers, but please do be careful about reaching out to people who claim they can give you definitive answers, okay? Because they're often preying on people in desperation for those. And as I tell my professional students, no one ever comes to our readings for no reason. People are usually at a crossroads or dealing with difficult circumstances. And we have to be really, really upfront about what we can and can't do. And so I am so very sorry, but I cannot give you the answer to that. So, yeah. Thank you. Energy shift today. Well, the moon moved out of aspect to Saturn, but I didn't really necessarily feel an energy shift today myself. It probably is what's ever going on in your chart. So remember, everybody feels energy in different ways because everybody has a different chart, and the planetary transits are happening differently for everyone. So one of the planets could have transited into a different house. Oh my God, it's full of stars. Oh my God, with bubbles. Ooh, I just got chills. Thank you. Thank you, Kim. I love that. Shooting stars. Yeah, shooting stars. Thank you. Hello. That was beautiful. Thank you. I love those shiny things. So my green chair, yes, it is a reading chair. Let me show you this. You can see it's actually very wide. Oh, hang on. There we go. So if I sit all the way back, I can be very little and curl up and read. It's a reading chair. Look at this. It's perfect for reading. Isn't that cool? I love this chair, right? So, yeah. With the dollar falling, do you think investing in gold and silver? I haven't looked at gold and silver's charts in a while, so I can't really give you a definitive answer on that. I give financial predictions in Patreon, but honestly, we're just going to see financial instability over the next several years. Just how it goes. But yeah. It is very comfortable, actually. It's an old 1960s chair. So, and what's really cool is I actually had visions about it about 3 months before I found it. So, super cool. And I have Tammy the tangerine next to me. She'll go outside soon. I just want to make sure it stays warm at night. It's been getting cold at night, so. But all her lovely blooms. She smells so good. Tammy the tangerine. So, yeah. Oh my God, my potatoes are getting big too. They just took off. They just really took off. I'm excited about that. So, yeah. Where did I find the chair? Actually, it's a really weird story. I was looking all over the place because I kept having visions of a chair, and this was before I ever joined TikTok. It was during 2020. And I went onto Facebook, and I was off Facebook a while ago because I'm not fond of it. You know, haven't been fond of it for a long time. Actually, ever since I joined it, it's just never been my game, and I had to be on for various reasons and different things. But anyway, I went on one day, and this chair popped up in the Facebook Marketplace, and a friend of mine was selling it, she's a witch and an astrologer, and she was having an estate sale, and she had to fly to Vegas to do it. And so I got a hold of her and I was like, oh my gosh, do you still have the chair? And she was like, yes, someone was going to come get it this afternoon, but I'd rather you have it. It was my great grandma's. I was like, oh, absolutely. I'll drive out to Vegas to pick it up. So even though it was the pandemic, that was the one thing I did is, masked up, grabbed my dog, drove out to Vegas, grabbed the chair, drove back in a day to Southern California. And it was really creepy at how many people weren't wearing masks. I was just like, oh my God. But anyway, and because it was her great grandma's, I told her, like, hey, you know where I'm at. You can always get a hold of me if you ever want your chair back. So she gets a kick out of seeing my videos and it's like, hey, nice chair. So yeah, and it was absolutely, it's like iconic on the TikTok, which is pretty funny. So yeah. Yeah, it is. And like I said, as a Cancerian, that just, like I love that it was her great grandma's and it meant a lot to her. And she knew it was coming to somewhere where it would really be taken care of. So it's a well-loved chair. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I kind of manifested it, except it came to me. It came to me. The right action part was I just happened to open up Facebook at the right time and it just happened. But for some reason, this was coming to me. So, a lot of the good things in my life have shown up that way. Things just kind of show up. So, yeah. I don't talk about my clients. I hold confidentiality, so I can't tell you who I read for. So I don't talk about my clients. My clients talk about me, and that's okay if they want to. But I can't tell you who I've read for because I hold confidentiality very, very sacredly. So, yeah. Hey, good to see you. Stimulation from someone I like. I'm not sure what you mean by stimulation. But you're not really going to hang out with anybody you don't like with Venus and Aries. So if people aren't stimulating to you, they don't resonate with you. So you're only going to be stimulated by people you like if you have Venus and Aries. So if you want to know more about like the signs and the houses and the story of the houses, the astro guides are up in my link in my bio. So yeah. So hey. Of course it makes sense. Yeah, if you want, there's like, I've got some Venus videos if you go look at my playlists. But if you want to know about your personal placements, you can click the link in my bio and get information from there. I don't really talk about personal placements here on my lives because I read full time and I'm creating content full time. So if I do for one person, I have to do for everybody, and I don't want to be unfair. So, you know. I love the idea of daylight savings time being permanent because I am not allowed to drive at night. So I need daylight savings time to be permanent. We don't live in an agrarian situation so much anymore anyway. So, you know, just saying. I am all for daylight savings time. Just keep it. Just keep it. Keep it. Yeah. Thank you, Saffron. My link in my bio. Just go read everything in there. There's the Astro Guides. Like Astro Guide Volume 1, Issue 1. Or you can listen to my podcast too. I talk about stuff there. Yeah. Yeah. Jet lag, not turkey. That's funny. Isn't it funny how like autocorrect comes up with the damnedest things, right? Like, I hated daylight saving time. I felt like it gave me jerky, right? You're like, why would I ever say that, autocorrect? Why would I ever say that? You know, or autofill. Yeah, I know. It gets me too sometimes. How am I? I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little bit tired because I've got a lot going on. So, right? As if you say beef jerky all the time, right? Yeah, you're like, oh, yes, yes. I get udon a lot, and I don't even eat udon a lot. So, it you know, I'll write undo, but it'll put udon. You know, like, is that a hint I need to eat more noodles? Right? You love it, but people are griping that we should do standard time with other countries. Well, other people can piss off. I don't care what other people say. You know, we need to kind of let go of that. Like, who cares what other people say? You know, we want to think collectively to a certain degree, but, you know, if you hold an opinion, just be okay with your opinion. I want daylight savings time to stay because so little of our society actually caters to the visually impaired. You know, and not all of us are obviously blind, you know, or impaired. You know, I worked really, really, really hard most of my life for it to be hard for you to tell I'm visually impaired. I shouldn't have to have my eyes crossing all the time for you to know that I have problems. But it would be nice to have things accommodating. So, you know, it would be nice. So daylight savings time is not that big a deal. And so what about the rest of the world? We just work with the -7 GMT for Pacific. You know, if we used Greenwich Mean Time as the 0, you know, then work from there. Doesn't really matter. Just stay with it. Right, you don't have a preference. You just don't want it flip-flopping. Well, yeah, there's that too. You know, that my preference is daylight savings time just because I can't drive at night. So for people who can't drive at night, it really helps. And in a lot of communities, especially, you know, seniors, you know, we have an aging population, and it would be good for people who, you know, it doesn't mean you can't drive. It just means you don't see well at night. And so, you know, for seniors, it helps them be a little bit more mobile as well. You know, my eyes act like they're senior citizens, even though I'm not. So if we book a chart reading, can you look at 5 years or so and tell us what years? No, I don't like doing readings like that. That's not my jam. I don't like to do those types of readings. I like to work with your strengths and help you understand. Like, I don't believe in luck. You make your own frickin' luck. And so I show you your strengths and how to work with the energies. So when we're looking at the transits, I'll tell you if I see something crunchy's up ahead, but I'm not going to tell you, oh, this is going to be your best year. You can make your best year right frickin' now, even if it has adverse conditions, and I'll show you how to use that energy. Okay. You're not fated or doomed to any experience. Likewise, if I tell you, oh, that year's going to be the best, and you sit on your ass for the next 4 years, it won't matter that 5 years out is the best year. Because if you do nothing leading up to it, nothing happens. You might have a little bit of luck, but that's it. Life isn't about sitting and waiting for things. So, or if I tell you something really bad might happen and all you're going to do is sit and wait for that to happen and dread, and you're robbed of your present moment. So ethically, I work with things a little differently. So I work with my clients to understand their strengths, what is coming up. And I do give a heads up if there's going to be something like to be aware of over time. But no, I'm not going to do a 5-year chart reading. That's not happening. No. In fact, I'm thinking about ending my 90-minute readings. So I'm down for reading hour and half-hour readings because I'm very accurate and I'm very fast. And anymore, even in a 90-minute reading, I can give you the answers pretty fast. So it doesn't really need to be 90 minutes anymore. I read so many charts. And I prefer coaching around things anyway. So, yeah. Right? Driving home in the dark. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's not fun. Oh, during the math for military time. The rest of the world kind of uses that. So that's what I've used. Yeah. You mean transits are coming up on your first house? They're not your planets, it's the transits, I'm assuming. Should you be panicking about this next month? You know what my answer always is. Why the hell would you panic? Just mitigate. Yeah, well, that happens. You just are probably pretty new to astrology because we do get times when there's Congo lines. I call it Congo lines, but when you get a lot of planets in one sign, they'll when they're transiting, then they move, as a group. And so they'll impact the house a great deal. But yeah, so it's a pivotal time in your life, but you want to be working towards that, and then you'll reap the rewards. So thank you. I love that. The butterflies. Thank you. And the roses. Thank you. Do I believe in soul connections and soulmates? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but we're all soul connections, right? Even now in this moment, our soul is contracted to have these conversations, even in situations that aren't comfortable or fun or nice or combative. Could be a soul agreement. You came here for a range of experiences. Not all of them were going to be fun, right? And soulmates are people that help us grow and help us expand our understandings from a soul level. And so that could be a dog, it could be a kid, it could be a love interest, it could be, and again, these can be people who challenge you. In fact, some of the most important connections in our life are people who might be frenemies or enemies. They help us do our growth. So yeah, and in astrology, there's certain placements and certain aspects that show where there's soul connections. No, I'm not going to tell you what they are. If you want to take a class, I'll teach you. But I'm not gonna do that here because it's easily misconstrued and people misconstrue information all the time. And whenever I have broken my own rule, I know there's little content creators that'll catch my lives and what have you, and then they run with information irresponsibly, and I'm not going there. So. Not saying that that's you. I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying sometimes there's lurkers, right? Yeah. Does working towards something sometimes mean just leaning back and going with the flow because I wouldn't want to get in the place of trying to make something happen? Well, yeah, it can be. But you have to be careful when you talk about going with the flow. It's following what's working. Something isn't working when you try to make it happen and nothing works. That's when you're trying to force it. But going with the flow isn't just sitting back and doing nothing. It's example, I had an idea in 1999 for a learning tool / game that involves astrology and is divinatory at the same time. Not necessarily astrologically divinatory, but it's it's a very cool multi-use experience. I just found the artist in 2019. Then we had the pandemic and life, and we are just now starting to work on it. That's 23 years. You know, I've written about it in my journals. I've doodled. I've thought about it. I've dreamed about it. But the timing was such that took 23 years to have happen. It's going forward, right? Same with the mystery school. I've spent years developing a lot of what's going to be there, and some of it worked for a little while and then it wouldn't work. Sometimes I tried to make it happen and it didn't work. And now it's just kind of all coming together, including all of the support necessary to make it happen, because it's not a one-woman job by any means. So that's going with the flow. I have a lot of writing to do tonight, but I decided to come and do a live stream because it seemed like the energy was flowing there better, and then I'll write later instead of doing it the other way around. That's going with the flow. What feels more correct, what feels right versus I'm going to make this happen, trying to push it. So yeah. Hope that helped. Do I foresee lockdowns? No, I don't. No, I don't see any lockdowns. I've said this since last fall as well. Wear your mask, but I don't see our authorities doing right by the people at all. I don't. They would have. They're going to continue on with the same spiel. Wear your masks. Wear your masks. I think the repercussions of not mitigating are going to be very large, and we're going to really see the impact in 2023 when Saturn ingresses into Pisces. We're going to see the repercussions of not having good public policy on health. So wear your masks. That's all I can say. Get vaxxed, wear your masks. They're only going to be able to do so much. Hopefully we see some innovation as well when it comes to pharmaceuticals. But we can't just hope, I was a little concerned with it's a magic bullet, because I saw where people's thinking was going, instead of like, oh, hey, maybe we should still be careful and not just decide that, we get to do whatever the fuck we want, because it doesn't work that way. So, yeah. Yeah. No, we never did what we should have. No. And honestly, COVID numbers are higher now than they were in 2020. No, it was never a proper lockdown. It was a half-assed, so yeah. It's hinting at? No, it's not hinting at. Zaddy, I've been talking about this since 2021. There's no hint. It's a massive expansion. It's not a hint. It's two planets that rule Pisces together. It's not a hint. I've been talking about this since the fall of 2021, and I have gone hoarse speaking about it. I'm almost like I'm so over it right now because I'm moving on. I have other things to do with that conjunction. It's also extremely magical. And so I've got work to do with that energy, and you need to be building up to that. That's why I did that group reading on Make Your Magic. Okay? And I went through things with people on how to make the magic work, because Jupiter and Neptune together is also really magical on a personal level if you know how to use the energy. And that's what I help people do in the readings that I did. So now I'm working on what I can do with it. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly, Kim. I can't tell you how the energy is going to use. You have to look at your own chart. You have to know what that transit's going to do for you. That's why I did a group reading on it. Yeah, that group reading was magic. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we will probably see mass walkouts again. Yeah. You could have fun. You could be really creative too. I love to hear that. I love to hear that you're actually working on your project so that you can build up to it. That's right. You don't want to just wait for it to happen. You want to build momentum. That's how we do it. We build momentum. If you miss the reading, there's not a lot I can do about that. I might do one more, and then if you were registered, you could get a hold of us, and I can make sure, like, if you're not there, it's kind of hard, like, so I could do one more. If you guys want me to do one more, I can do that. Put a heart in the comment if you want another session of that. You started writing again. Oh my God, look at you, Sarah. I'm so proud of you. The energies take up time to build and using them. Yeah, okay. If you guys want another round, I'll get one out. I'll set one up. I'll set one up before April. We'll look at what's going on. Okay. All right. I'll do one more group reading. And I'll get a hold of the people who missed it. But, you know, I don't have a lot of disposable time right now because I'm really, really busy getting curriculum going that you're going to love, you know. So it's all like stuff for you guys. So it's not like, oh, I'm just busy doing like lounging on the beach. I will need to lounge on the beach. And I'm not even a beach lounger. But I may need to fall face first into something by the time I'm done with all this. So, but I'll put one together. I'll put one more together. So, yeah. Well, I really enjoyed the group reading. And then we'll do one. I was kind of thinking of getting one for the solstice as well. Like, yeah. I haven't decided, though. We shall see. Yeah. Yeah, Mama Sarah wants Astro Mama to start more beach lounging. Me too, but I got to get the mystery school going. Once I do that, there'll be more time. So there is more time coming into my future. I've already kind of pared down the amount of readings I do so I can get my other work done. It was just impossible with the reading schedule as heavy as it was. It was a lot, so... Oh, very good. I'm glad. I'm glad you're taking that class. The solstice is in June. The equinox is March 20th. But I'm not going to do an equinox reading. So I'll do a solstice reading maybe. But I don't really feel like doing an equinox reading. There's too much going on right now, and it's basically there's not going to be that much difference from the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. You know, there'll be a little bit, but not a whole lot. Not in any significant way to do a group reading that's interesting to me. So I haven't ruled. Things kind of have to be interesting to me as much as serve the group for me to be able to do it and keep the energy levels up. So, yeah. Yeah, solstice will be interesting. We have a very interesting summer ahead, too. So, like I said, I'm kind of over April right now, and I'm really starting to look at the summer. You notice that I tend to work, you know, ahead. So yeah, so we'll do another group reading. I'll put one together tonight, and I'll get out to you guys that were signed up for the other ones. If you missed it, you know, so yeah. I don't really talk about people's personal planets in here in my lives. Sorry, guys. I just don't. Your birthday is in April. Don't rush it. That's funny. I'm not going to lie. My birthday looks like a total shit show globally. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's why it's so funny when people are like, oh, no, it's my birthday. I'm like, I don't know. I'm looking at my birthday chart in July, and it's like, oh... shit, what's going on? I'm still gonna have a good day. You can have a good day no matter what. You don't have to personalize things that aren't happening directly to you. You know, you want to be aware and be mindful, but you don't have to personalize everything. I think that's one of the worst things that ever happened with, you know, 24/7 news cycles is we over personalize tragedies that have nothing to do with us personally. We have empathy for other people, absolutely, but you can't take it personally. Like, there's a huge difference if something happens directly to you and the people you love And if it's just something you're kind of on the outside of, and you can certainly support people who are going through things, you can have empathy for people who are going through things. But if it's not directly impacting you, you don't have a right to own the tragedy. I think it's kind of gross in some ways that we own tragedies that have nothing to do with us personally. And I think that's just because my own trauma was co-opted by other people. And they made my trauma about, theirs and part of their story, and it had nothing to do with them. And yet they use it for kudos when I was young. And so I'm very sensitive on those subjects. It's like, you don't need to capitalize on the suffering of other people. You'll also notice I don't tend to do a lot of capitalizing on other people's suffering. I try not to talk a lot about certain events and just let the news cover it, but I try not to capitalize on tragedies. I try to lead by example. There's no reason to. I might talk about timely things, but if I'm doing it, it's to warn people, or to give people a heads up, but I try not to capitalize on things. So you want to go to a spa for your birthday this year? There you go. Make sure it's a relaxing day. Yeah. Right? Yeah, it happened to you too. Yeah, it sucks when people co-opt your trauma. Yeah, absolutely. Namaskar. You drown yourself in Christmas. That works. Poor Christmas babies. My great aunt was born around Christmas time. And so when I was a little girl, it really bothered me that people combined her birthday and her Christmas presents. So I would always make her separate little cards. Like if I was making snowflakes or hearts or whatever, I made sure I did 2 of them for her because it really bothered me that they comboed it. So, yeah. Oh, the saltwater tanks. Those are nice. Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. Just relax. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I still take birthdays I think I was destined to be an astrologer because even as a kid, I took birthdays like dead serious. Like we don't play around birthdays. Birthdays are like important. They're a big deal. Yeah. Story of your December 27th birthday life. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Right. If you could zone out for yourself, absolutely. Yeah, float tanks are great. Yeah. Yeah. I just found and got a membership to a massage place near me. So I do my weekly massages because I need that. I do so much work at the computer and I have an old neck injury. So it really helps keep everything loose. So yeah. She gets all the presents. Mom made sure. Oh, good for mom. Right? Birthdays are fun. I love that gosh, it went dark, so yeah. Yeah, going to I have a facial booked as well. Yeah. It's getting important with the mature skin. Self-care is really, really important, and you shouldn't wait till you're a middle-aged woman to do it. Take care of yourself as long, and not just for looks, but just for overall well-being. Just take care of yourself. It's super important. It's super important to take care of yourself. Now, that's going to be a theme of the Virgo full moon, by the way. As the moon goes through Virgo, and I've talked about some of the bigger happenings, but on a personal level, it's going to become very, very apparent where we need to do self-care, where we really need to take a look at some of the fibs we tell ourselves about ourselves. Maybe we think we're not deserving of it. Maybe we think we need to go, go, go. Maybe sometimes we overdo the indulgences a little bit. Maybe we've been dissociating a little too hard. Maybe we need to come back a little bit and tend our physical selves. We're going to be seeing some of that. We're going to be seeing through other people's narratives. We're going to be seeing a little more clarity for ourselves. Sometimes that can hurt. Truth can hurt. So there might be some reveals coming up. Really depends on where this is happening in your own chart. Again, I'll have the horoscopes up on Patreon tonight for the moon in Virgo, so that when you wake up in the morning, you have your horoscopes. Because the moon doesn't change signs for a little bit. So, yeah. Oh, good for you taking care of yourself and doing the self-care. I used to feel so guilty when I started, because I was like so all in with everybody else and taking care of everybody else. Like a lot of moms, I just kind of poured myself into everybody else. And then I extended that into community activities. And then I blew my shoulder. I was like 38 and I blew my shoulder because I spin yarn. And it was funny because hand spinning was the thing I did for me on a spinning wheel, right? Because I'm a fiber artist. And I blew my left shoulder, but I didn't want to go get surgery. And so I actually manifested an aromatherapist who did PT massage in town, in my little tiny town, who was amazing. And it took about 2 years, but I have full range of motion using my hand. I did not for quite a while. And that's why, like I said, at 38, I didn't want to get shoulder surgery because I was afraid that it would really limit me over time. I think things are better now, but it wasn't quite that good to do joints even, back then, like in 2007. And so, yeah. So I had to do a lot more to relax myself and go get my nails done and make sure I got massages and do the aromatherapy and get the acupuncture and really focus on myself. And I felt so guilty, because we've been so raised and trained to not take care of ourselves and put ourselves last and be that sacrificing person. And, all you do is teach your kids not to take care of themselves. And that's not a good thing. And it really hurts when you grow up. Now, even though, I changed that when my kids were teenagers, of course, they still got the message from when they were younger. So watching my kids like not do enough for themselves or not do the self-care, it really is heartbreaking because, I taught them that, just like I learned it from my mom, and so luckily they saw me switch it over and they'll catch themselves and they'll do some self-care and take care of themselves. But man, it hurts to watch them repeat things because, it's not do as I say, not as I do. They're going to do what you do. So that's why when I'm working with parents of young children, I'm like, hey, start taking time now as much as you can, Has my shoulder healed completely? Absolutely. Yeah, it did within about 2 years. Yeah. Right? You can't do that, Nick. You can't do it. You got to do something for you. Right, still limited. Yeah, it took about 2 years between using. It was medical aromatherapy, though. It's not like DoTerra. This person is a medical grade aromatherapist. They used to have like a really big practice in Southern California, and then they retired up to the Northwest and opened up something there, and then also was a licensed PT person. So she worked on my shoulder and we were pretty vigilant at it. And it took, like I said, it took about 2 years. But yeah, when I started, I couldn't even lift a grocery bag. That's how bad it was. It was so painful. My hand actually curled because I had just shortened my pecs and pulled the whole thing forward. And so I have to remember to do my stretches and yeah. Posture. But yeah. Anyway, guys, I've been on for a while. I don't even know how long I've been on. Sorry, guys. I hit the notifications. I've been on for a while, and so I am going to head off, and I am going to go. I will make... I got to get the Virgo moon horoscopes up so that people can read them and be ready for the Virgo moon. So all my patrons, if you want to know more about what's going to happen for the Virgo full moon, make sure you go to the link in my bio, listen to my podcast. I don't know if you guys know this, but the The podcast made it to the top 40 religion and spirituality podcasts last fall. So I think that's pretty cool. And so if you can make sure you listen in and tune in, help us rank again. That would be super cool. I would love to see that happen. Still working on getting it off Spotify. It's a process. It's not easy. I don't have like the resources of the big people, so I'm still trying to get the damn thing off of there. But yeah, please tune in. Let's see if we can rank in the top 40 for religion and spirituality again. I think that would be super cool. It's not bad for somebody who doesn't do a lot of editing. But yeah, thank you so much, as always, to my patrons, because without the patrons, none of this happens. So, thank you. I appreciate you guys. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.